Hello out there, and we're back and rolling with another episode of Let Me Say This. Y'all know us by name. This is episode 14, but if you don't, I'm with Raphael Rhodes, Drism Dre Davis, and I'm the one Anthony likes. And speaking of Drism Dre Davis, I guess you could say he kind of jumped in front of a story, as in recent news, before we even get into the NBA Finals preview, or prediction, rather, because it is that day. The New York Knicks decided to, in some eyes, make a questionable decision and fire their head coach, Tom Thibodeau, who has brought the New York Knicks, as we've seen in recent years, back to a little bit of relevancy. We're gonna kick it off to you, our inside source. So, how did you first guess this? Like, what do you think went wrong with the Tom Thibodeau outside of the? Well, let's get into it.
First, I just want to say, initially, the NBA taught us something this year, and we didn't listen, and we saw it. And when this podcast series started, it was one of the highlights and conversations that we had in one of our episodes. Two playoff teams fired their coaches before the playoffs even started, regardless of what rhyme, reason, what story comes out, what subplot, what goes on. Two playoff teams moved on with their life, their culture, their franchise without the coach that brought them more than at that point 60 or 70 games in some of those cases. What I learned from this year's NBA is that winning coaches get fired just as fast, if not faster, than losing coaches. Why is that? If we got to these points, Thibodeau's probably been there, 4 or 5 years now?
Give or take, maybe
Okay.
close to a decade. Well, I ain't gonna say close to a decade, but maybe probably like 6, 7 years, maybe.
Okay. Long enough to where this 4-year window that he has been given, especially by the God-given talent and grace that is Jalen Brunson, he has been blessed with a new opportunity to give this team that we just watched on the floor for New York, that definitely was an NBA championship ready team. You talked about it in previous episodes. Once the cruise control Boston Celtics went down, the floor was wide open for the New York Knicks to get on the plane and ride.
It was theirs to lose.
It was all theirs to lose. But then Tom Thibodeau happened. A year or so ago, Mikal Bridges, NBA Iron Man, plays every game, has not missed, no injuries, secretly came out to a reporter on accident and had a story quickly flamed out where he said, yeah, y'all, I play every game and I feel like I play too much. That was the start of a slow burn to Tom Thibodeau's exit, which leads up, and I'm going to quickly tell this story, that when we got to this point in the NBA playoffs, and that's what I'm telling you guys, I watched some of these Eastern Conference final games very intently. And I wish I could clip the play. There was a play where the Knicks got a steal, and it was 4-on-1, and they elected to go into half-court offense as opposed to running the break. What did I see when I saw that? I saw a team that was tired in game 4 of a very long series. The same thing that we saw last year with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They made changes. They got a little more depth. They lost something in Cat, but they got more depth. They were able to play a little bit more. So when they got to that point by the conference finals, they still made it look really, really competitive. They just were up against a much better team.
Way better team.
The Knicks only win game 5 because of the home court energy. Other than that, by game 4, they were tired. That is completely on Tom Thibodeau. At that point, you can't play 7 players. You got to go to 10. You should have been playing 10 back in January. Deuce McBride has been on the New York Knicks bench all year with minimal playing time. People leave New York because of minimal playing time, because of Thibodeau. That is why I foresaw that when we got to the conference finals, there's no way we win. With the depth that we got, we draft well. We have pretty good bench players. That's not the issue. We have stars. We're playing our people too much. And for that, we have to make a change because we have the roster. We have the money. We have the draft capital. So what goes next?
I want to take it back to what a certain player that Raphael brought up when we were discussing the recap in the conference finals. Um, the guy in Milwaukee, number 34, Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. Could he potentially be in a New York Knicks uniform? Obviously, they're gonna have to trade Cat. You know, could that take the team to newer heights? Like when they, traded Randall for Cat and they make it to conference finals, could trade for, could Cat possibly be on the move again? And they bring in Giannis and it takes him to the finals. But because there's a coach out there. I don't know who else, but you got maybe a Mike Malone, a Mike Budenholzer, maybe even a Mike Brown. If your name is Mike, you might end up in New
Might have
York
a
right now.
chance.
So those are three coaches off the top of my head that I can say, and maybe Taylor Jenkins, Memphis Grizzlies, but I highly doubt that. But those first three names are very interesting, especially a Budenholzer. And Giannis already said he would like to play in New York. I know at first it was like Brooklyn because I think they got cap space and stuff like that. But like, why would Giannis turn down a chance to go play in the Mecca and go to and play for the Knicks and play for a team that's pretty much already built, and you just got to go in place. You got to guard. You're playing with Dame, who's a little bit. Dame is pushing 35, and Jalen Brunson's only 28, going on 29. So he's still in the early part of his prime. Giannis still has good years left for him. Like I said, give or take that one episode when we were talking about that with Giannis, like he's 30, but like give or take a 4 to 5 year window with Giannis still playing at a high level. Why would you not want to make this move and hire a coach that he's familiar with and go to a pretty much plug and play him into a system? So
Giannis wants to play for championships.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to win. He's stated it numerous times. I want to win championships. He also stated he wanted to win in Milwaukee, but Milwaukee's not making the right moves to bring him closer to a championship. And I think New York is the most championship-ready team in the East that would get him there.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at it, I look at it another way too for Karl-Anthony Towns. This is your opportunity. You played good play in the playoffs. You played a good season. Now you're kind of making your name as I could be the guy again instead of coming off and being a supporting player. You're kind of making your case for being the guy again and getting paid the money that you should be. So if I'm Giannis, I would try to get that done. As far as the coach goes, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know who would want to take the job like that. I was in the wheelhouse of Thibodeau shouldn't have been fired. But I understand after Dre, what you just said, you got these guys that are just worn out. They're worn out because they're playing, out of 48 minutes in the game, they're playing 47 and a half.
Yeah.
And they're playing every night and they're not getting rest. And it just goes to show that when the playoffs count, wear and tear, or when the playoffs come in, wear and tear counts.
Mm-hmm.
And your body breaks down because people don't think the NBA is a physical sport, but they don't pay attention to the way it's being played in the paint. And if you look at it now, I had this conversation because I know we're about to get into the finals preview, and our picks. But if you look at it, they call SGA a free throw merchant. Is he really a free throw merchant, or is he just somebody who's not afraid to drive it to the hole and he's just playing the game because if I get a foul, I get a foul. That's the game.
Brunson is the same way.
Yeah.
Brunson's the exact same way. But when you're playing Brunson every night for 39, 40 minutes out of a 48-minute game, he's going to get tired.
And I can even take it back. We can take it back to last season. They lost to this same team in the second round, and it's because they were missing guys because guys were hurt. And we can all see it's because in the regular season, they were playing too many minutes in the regular season. So going to the playoffs, It's kind of
It's
where they hit their
impossible.
peak. So I kind of understand it. And like Dre, before you jumped on, I discussed with Raphael pre-show. It's like this is one of these delayed inevitable moves. If Boston had not done what happened to Boston, aside from the injuries, just if Boston didn't lose the series in the first two games by
They
with
still
the threes,
fire him.
he might have been out of here, after the second round if they get eliminated in the second round. So yeah, and then it's a different discussion. But I guess it's kind of different, you know what I'm saying, when your coach makes it to the conference finals and you let him go. And I think, and now we looking back at it retrospectively, I think we got to kind of get a Denver Nuggets credit because just imagine had they advanced that game 7 past OKC with Mike Malone and he's in the conference finals and then like, hey,
You gotta keep him
hey,
now.
yeah,
You gotta keep
so
him.
so
because they got you to the promised land. They got you to
Yeah.
the mecca of
And
sports.
you can't get rid of him at that point. And to agree actually with both of your points, excellent points that were made. First of all, I want to go backtrack to Giannis to Milwaukee. I mean Giannis to New York. Excellent move. Actually, Giannis does not want to leave the East. He does not
doesn't.
want to leave the East. The East is still the easiest ride. The East is still a place where he belongs. He belongs with other drivers and people that like to go to the rack and play physical basketball. That's gonna be Giannis. I agree wholeheartedly with you again, Raphael, that this move, and that's a great trade scenario. That trade does absolutely send Cat to a situation where I am the guy, and you can build this team completely over with me. And
that's because he played well in the playoffs and he played well at the end of the season.
Yep.
And he came into New York as somebody who was like trash that was thrown away from Minnesota. Like he didn't put up the production that they were expecting.
Yeah.
and they didn't want to pay him. It's mainly because they didn't want to pay him.
Yeah.
But still, like he was still looked at it like, well, he was a superstar there. He's not going to be a superstar here.
Yeah.
We have Jalen Brunson.
And I feel like they're definitely going to keep Dame in this situation because they kind of don't have a choice.
They got no choice.
But yeah, they're in a situation now where they get Cat. They can build around him for at least another 3 years. He's proven in the playoffs to be an excellent player. To my point that I made a couple of days ago, whomever does end up with this job in New York, much like I showed much appreciation in the last episode to Carlson that coaches the Pacers now. Rick Carlisle. I'm sorry. Showing appreciation to people that can move on to another chapter in their career as a coach, go to a different team, and elevate them to this level, like you guys just talked about. Rick Carlisle now is safe in Indiana for at least another 2 or 3 years.
Oh, hands down.
And it's fitting because like a lot of people don't know that Rick Carlisle actually coached the Pacers previously before he ended up with the Mavs. So this is basically his second stint. I think he was coached with the like Reggie Miller in in the twilight years of his career with the Ron Artest and all that. He was the coach in that Malice of the Palace situation, which was championship
a playoff.
Teams. Yeah,
we just talked about that recently. Yes,
and he even said in his post game press conference, it's nice to be home and bring a championship home. Like he calls it home. He loves being in Indiana because the Pacers in Indianapolis, it's not a basketball city. It's a basketball state. It is a state.
Hoosier state.
You got the Hoosiers and Larry Bird came out of there and Larry Bird is one of the best basketball players of all time. And he is known that he put Indiana on the map. Him, Bobby Knight, the Indiana Hoosiers, they put basketball on the map there for the state of Indiana.
So I kind of want to go back to that Cat situation. Could there possibly be a third team involved?
I could see that. I honestly, so two parts to that. I could see the Lakers somehow being involved in that trade to possibly get Cat. And I want to say that, I want to reiterate, to get Cat, which would mean I could see the Milwaukee Bucks then receiving Austin Reeves and possibly a Dorian Finney-Smith, maybe.
He's on an expiring contract.
Okay. Well, maybe a Jared Vanderbilt, and then the third move being Giannis to New York. So I could see that kind of being a three-way trade if those three teams were looking.
And honestly, I actually like that because, they've been saying that the Lakers are saying that they're just a big man short.
Yeah.
They've been saying it. They're a big man short.
I hear y'all, but Cat, he's not like defensively, he's not the level of AD. But as far as offensively, Cat is going to want to play the 4. He's not going to want to play the 5. So it still might be a situation to where go get an actual center. Don't just try to put Cat in that situation and think, oh yeah, well we got our guy right here,
Yeah.
that can play the 4 or the 5 in a given night. Like, nah, go get a center and have Cat playing at the 4. So that's something to look out on. But I just want to bring that up because like I'm sure like he's got to look at that Milwaukee situation, and be like, I don't want
I
to be a
can't
part of a
really do
rebuild.
that.
Yeah, it won't be
Yeah.
a part of a rebuild,
And that's
especially.
and that's why I threw that particular trade scenario out
Mhm.
there, because I threw some youth in there. I threw youth to the right place. I threw the big man to the right place, and still got Giannis to the place that he's eventually probably going to want to go. Because I'd be a fool to say truly that I believe that Miami has a chance at Giannis at this point.
Yeah,
So,
Miami won't pay Giannis. Pat Riley won't pay Giannis what
so
Giannis deserves.
at best, I could see Philly and New York at best,
I don't
and
even
I
think
would
Philly
be,
has a cap space, do they?
Yeah.
yeah, maybe not, but
Philly is an interesting situation, but it's just like I feel like they really
not
just
gonna
stuck.
throw. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and that's why the Laker Bucks Knicks trade makes the most sense, because it addresses everybody's different issues. It gets the right movement, which I would feel like in the NBA to see, and very likely to be retiring LeBron with a very nice big man in Cat. Whether or not he wants to play the 4 or the 5 doesn't really matter. They just need the presence.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, the Lakers have a way of getting you to buy into their system. And a lot of that has to do with their coach, and a lot of that has to do with their ownership and the legacy of the Lakers. People go to the Lakers and they buy into the system. And I would have a hard time believing that if Cat was brought in and they coached him the right way and he drank the Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
that he wouldn't fit as a good big man in LA that could still run the floor and provide offensive points.
Because guess what? Even in that situation, you still get to play with LeBron for at least a year, and Luka for
Luka.
probably 2 or 3 more years. So that's why, again, I say that's why I look at that particular trade scenario. When you ask about a third team, that's the only one that really makes sense, and it
I like it.
works for
I think it
it
makes
works for
perfect
everybody
sense.
in that sense.
I think it
So,
makes perfect
That's what
sense.
I'm saying because I was like, there's no way this team just involves this trade just involves Milwaukee and New York straight up because you don't have nothing to go to in Milwaukee. You got an Asian Dame on an Achilles tear, so he's going to be out.
and you,
Got all the other guys, pretty much all your main guys, they're older, so it's just like you don't. Yeah, it's a big
and if
drop off.
you
So that's why it's like, could there be a third team involved?
and to
But
be
the
honest,
only thing that
if
would
you
make sense with Cat going. Go ahead, Dre.
I was gonna say my last point is, and to be honest, do you even want Cat to still be in the East? And that's again why I threw that particular team in there, because you get him out of the East completely. You don't really help your Eastern Conference, not rival, but your Eastern Conference make much better. You give them youth,
You don't help
though. That's
somebody
what they're
stay
looking for.
competitive. Yeah, you don't help.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's
Well,
why
I mean,
again, like
but
that's what makes sense about it. But go ahead, Raphael.
but the business end of it, though, I mean, it's also got to make sense for the player. If it depends on what Cat's motivation is. If Cat's motivation is I want to win a championship, maybe going to LA is the best place.
Yeah.
If Cat's motivation is I want to be the guy to build off of and get to a championship at some point, maybe Milwaukee is the right place.
Then maybe go to
It all depends on how patient he is. But he's been in the league for what, 5 years or so?
Mm-hmm.
5, 6 years?
No, Cat's been in the league for 10 years. He's
I
the
was
number
gonna
one
say-
pick 10 years ago.
10
I would
years.
say
He's been in for 10 years.
north
He
of 8.
probably wants a trophy.
Yeah.
So if
I
it
wanna-
makes sense,
I
would
want to
say
throw this
Milwaukee.
team out there too. This is a
Like
high.
I
Let
know
me
what
say
team
this.
you about to say.
You probably know they got. I was thinking OKC, but I was like, nah. But Golden State, OKC is a sneaky one, but Golden State.
I was
think about it.
I was going even
Think about
crazier
it.
than that.
Think about Golden State.
I was going to say
Mavericks?
Phoenix.
I was thinking Mavericks.
Mavericks is not bad, actually.
I was thinking Phoenix because you still get booked back with an okay, better big man in Cat.
Yeah.
You get KD sent to Milwaukee for whatever reason.
Just to
Just because he's a journeyman. Yeah.
another scenario where it's probably a 3-team involved.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
See, and I was thinking Dallas because you put him in there with Kyrie Irving when he gets healthy and Anthony Davis.
But you got to think AD doesn't want to play the 5, and they already got Gafford and Derek Lively, so that's why you can kind of rule out. It makes sense with Dallas, but you got to rule them out. Yeah, so that's why I was like Golden State, because Draymond Green could do all the dirty work as far as defense, run the offense, and then you get Steph, Cat, and a little bit of Jimmy. You know what I'm saying?
Mean, Golden State would be nice too. I still think I agree with Dre on this. I still think the Lakers make the most sense.
The most sense overall.
It makes the most sense. There are a couple sneaky players in there that you can. I mean, OKC. He goes to OKC. He's pretty much guaranteed a championship, but I don't know how much playing time he's going to get because these guys are playing like studs.
Yeah,
and I threw out OKC because, well, it'll be the double stretch situation. Basically, it'll shift their offense into more of a 5-out offense, and SGA will basically have more path to, I guess, bait free throws, if according to some people. But
OKC's such a young roster, and a lot of their guys are on fresh contracts.
Yeah.
They have these guys. If they've gotten this far, and if they actually win, next week and they win the championship, then you're looking at like, why would anybody want to leave? Because they have the opportunity to be a dynastic run.
Yeah,
they're young. They're not like I'll use Boston from last year. Boston, these guys had 2 years left on their contracts remaining. A lot of them did. Jaylen Brown, 2 years left on his contract, and now they don't even want to redo it.
They cashed in. They did what they were supposed to do with it. They did, the win now situation.
They brought Porzingis in. He's got 1 year left on his contract, and you got OKC that has multiple years, not just 2
ahead of them.
They got like 5 years left on their contract because they're young.
Lifetime ahead of them.
So if I'm OKC, I'm sitting there going, this is a possible dynasty that we're building here. If these guys stay healthy and play this good.
Yeah.
So,
and moving along to that, it's probably going to be a 3-part question. First question, what do we expect game 1 to be like? Second question, who wins game 1? And third question, the overall, who wins the total series?
I'm still confidently standing by Thunder in 5, probably 6. I'll go ahead and get mine out the way because I still feel the same way that I felt a couple of days ago. I actually expect for the Pacers to win game 1. And that's why I got the Thunder in 6. But if the Thunder are able to prevail in game 1, we'll see them done in 5. SGA will be the MVP. The team we talked about, we talked about it in the last episode, the team that we're seeing right now in front of us, the team that we're going to see next year and the year after, they're just getting better. They're just getting stronger. There is strength in numbers, and this is truly a great team. I would be remiss not to say that Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, a lot of those guys on the Pacers have had a phenomenal season. But this is tailor-made for the best team in the NBA to win the ultimate prize and for the best player in basketball to walk away as the face of the NBA after this series is over. So, I mean, that's a really probably smoking hot take, but I like SGA at this point. He's been a phenomenal player in this league for a couple of years now. He came from a situation where he shouldn't have even been traded from it. If we look back on it,
Paul George built this finals. He built this finals.
The entire NBA finals. Entire NBA finals. But yeah, I confidently stand by.
Actually, when you think about that, you could all blame it on Paul George because
this is a like Pacer, a Paul George,
and then he left the Pacers to go to Oklahoma City.
And,
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, so it's completely his fault. But yeah, I mean, that's just my take on it. Like I said, maybe this will be a clippable moment. I'm not confidently saying 5 because I believe in what the Pacers have done, but I would like to see them do it in 5, but I think it's really going to be Thunder in 6.
I think I've been back and forth this entire week. It's been it's racking my brain.
Yeah.
because both of these teams are physical. They like to play. I mentioned earlier, SGA likes to go to the hoop. He's not scared to be in the paint. Where a lot of teams like to shoot the three, he is fundamental basketball. Take it to the hoop. I'll take the fouls. He gets the calls because he's playing basketball. He's going to the hoop. He's being physical. He's getting the fouls. But with that said, Indiana's not afraid to do the same thing with a lot of their guys too. And I've been back and forth on who I like. Game 1, I think it's going to go to the Thunder, strictly because it is Oklahoma City and the atmosphere there is absolutely nuts. I mean, they don't sit down the entire game.
No.
They don't have a seat. When I watched their
bonkers.
series last week, none of their fans sit down for popcorn, for anything. So I think game 1,
the
it
2012
is going to be
NBA Finals, an experience in itself.
And I think it's going to be a feeling out process for game 1, but I still think Oklahoma City is going to take the win. Overall, it's hard because Oklahoma City's so good, but I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going with the underdog on this. I think Indiana is a Cinderella team.
I really respect it.
Indiana is a Cinderella team, and I am going to I'm going to root for the Pacers in 7 because it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out series. And game 7 is going to be decided by at least 3 points.
I'm still going because I kind of had my mind made, but I like when it comes to game 1, I expect game 1 to kind of be, for at least the first half, to be kind of slow and scrappy. The second half it'll probably pick up pace. OKC wins game 1. I'll say they split in the first 2 games and Pacers take 1. But as far as with this series, I saw the series really going one of 2 ways. I saw OKC in a sweep, and I saw the Pacers winning in 7. I'm gonna take the Pacers in 7. I'm gonna do it in history. And the reason being, with some of this, I feel like when it comes to this playoffs, every round there's been a moment that the Pacers have been tested and they rose to the occasion. They were down to Milwaukee in that closeout game with like 7 or 8 points with just a little bit over a minute left. They closed out the series. Cleveland, they were down by 20 points in that game 2. Given with the Cavaliers having all those injuries, they closed that out with a Halliburton game winner. In the conference finals, same scenario. I think the first or second
they were
game,
down by 21 points.
Yeah, Halliburton sends them to overtime. They win in overtime in game 1. So Denver, the second round against the Nuggets, you could say they were battle tested. They were down, but when it came to game 7, they ran away with it. So it's just like, I don't think the Thunder faced any real adversity in this playoffs. The Pacers have faced all the adversity. The Pacers got more. You still got a guy that's playing with a chip on his shoulder. You got the most, quote unquote, most overrated player in the league going against the guy that's been MVP basically for half a year. So history tells
since game 1.
Yeah, and history tells us that it hasn't been of late, but the best team doesn't always win. We've seen the Pistons drag the Lakers in 5 in 2004. We've seen in other sports where the Giants beat the Patriots to prevent them from going 19-0. So there's a lot of things that I weigh into that, but mainly the Pacers being battle tested. But I'll
throw another stat out too, and I don't mean to cut you off, Anthony, but I'll throw one more stat out. Actually, 2 of them. Number 1, Oklahoma City showed that they could be beat against Denver, and they could show that a scrappy team, who, by the way, Denver didn't have a coach because they fired their coach well before the playoffs.
Yeah,
they didn't have a coach, and they put up a fight against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's the best team in the league. Right? Number 2, and this is an important one, since January, the Indiana Pacers have not lost 2 games straight. They have not lost 2 in a row since January. And when you look at it, it's like it's Cinderella all the way, man.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like they're destined for it. They're just destined.
And the worst thing I would want OKC to do is kind of go in this half-assed and be like, man, we better than these guys. And then, like, you know, on paper, what you are, record-wise shows you are, but you still got to play the games. And like I said,
The records are
yeah,
0-0.
it's all thrown out the
once the
window at this point
playoffs
now.
start.
Yeah, the rubber has met the road many moons ago. So that's why. But that's what I feel. I think the Pacers are just a little. Well, I ain't gonna say just a tad more, but they're more battle tested because outside of the second round for OKC, what have they really faced? They haven't really faced any real adversity, and they didn't even go down. And then in the second round, they didn't even go down 3. I mean, yeah, they didn't go down 3-2. They won Game 5 and forced Denver to have to win Game 6 to force a Game 7. And then, like I said, in that Game 7, they ran away with it. So
I'll point this out to your point, to your point, Anthony. The Oklahoma City Thunder just faced adversity in the series because the games they won by a landslide.
Yes.
Indiana has faced adversity every game. Every game. I mean, they face adversity every game and come out on top.
So that's what I think, none of these teams have, I guess you could say, championship edge. I mean, because, you got guys on the team like Siakam for the Pacers and Caruso for the Thunder that got championships and played pivotal roles. More so, Siakam played more of a pivotal role with what he's able to do with Toronto being like the second or third guy up there winning the championship. But so that's about it. But yeah, that's why I was like, I don't want to see a clean sweep because I don't think we saw NBA Finals go a 7th game, even a 6th game it went 6 games in 2022, Golden State in Boston, but we haven't seen a 7th game in the NBA Finals since Golden State Cleveland. So it's been almost 10 years since we got a 7-game series in the NBA Finals. So I think this will be the first one in a long time. And I don't expect a OKC blown at 3-1. I don't expect nothing like that, but I expect this to go basically back and forth and then, get it done. Game 7, get it done. And then the team with the worst stats, obviously, stats only matter when you lose in a situation like that. It's going to be like, oh, well, we didn't do this. We didn't shoot the ball well. We didn't do this well. So, nobody remembers how bad you shot.
All I'm going to say for it is buckle up. Just buckle up.
Buckle up
because it's going to be fun. It's going to be scrappy. And you never know what's going to happen because and a lot of people will sit there and say, and they'll look at me and Anthony who are picking the Pacers to win, and they'll be like, well, the Pacers lost the regular season series between these two teams this year. Yeah, but that was a different Pacers team.
Yeah,
that was, what I'm saying?
The Knicks lost all 4 games versus Boston in the regular season, and we've seen what happened.
Right.
And before the guys went down with the injuries, they were up 2-0. They went up 2-0. They took 2 road games. So, yeah, like regular season and postseason are different animals. The games slow down. It gets more physical. You see the same team for a potential 7 games, so you can adjust.
Everybody's banged up. Everybody's dinged.
Make the necessary adjustments. Because especially like East and West teams only play each other twice. So it's like, of course, anything can happen in those 2 games, of course, but it's just a small sample size compared to now a potential 7-game series. So, hey.
But how much do you mature through the season? Right? Even the young teams, how much do you mature through the season?
Oh, there's definitely some growth.
Indiana is not going to be the same team that played them and lost to them in the regular season. They're going to learn from their mistakes. They're going to find a way. And I think we talked about this on the previous episode. If you find a way to take SGA out of the game,
yes.
I mean, you have a really solid, and Rick Carlisle can. He can do it with his coaching adjustments, the way he adjusts, the way he coaches, and the way he manages the team. He can find a way to take.
Yeah, because who would they call on in the time of I know like Jalen Williams played well in the conference finals, but everybody else outside of Jalen Williams is up and down. It's more of a we don't know what we're gonna get from those guys, and we haven't seen in a scenario where SGA is like, dang, SGA struggling, so
Yeah.
But yeah, Pacers
and that's why I said I think that's why I'm so confident in it. I haven't seen a team yet that's really able to stop, slow down, dilute, do anything to change what SGA has been doing the whole season.
Yeah.
So it would. What I did see in the Western Conference Finals was, like I said in the last episode, the Thunder were able to take away Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards at a point in the series, and after that point in the series was practically over.
It's pretty much over. Yeah.
So with that, I haven't seen, and I think that will be the interesting part about the Pacers is they were very harassing to the entire Knicks offense. Created a lot of turnovers, a lot of fast break points. It will be very interesting to see what happens at that rate. But the free throw merchant, NBA MVP, NBA Western Conference Finals MVP, still is confident in who I stand by right now until proven wrong or
Okay.
until proven
Who do you,
otherwise.
speaking of that, we might as well get on that. Who do you? Obviously, I'm pretty sure I know who you're gonna pick, but who do you got for Finals MVP?
Yeah.
Oh well, myself and Raphael on the Pacers. I'll let Raphael predict his Finals MVP.
I think Tyrese, because he's been playing with a chip on his shoulder this playoffs, and I think he sits there and just proves why people hate him so much to be overrated and call him overrated, and he's going to prove that he is perfectly rated where he is at.
Yeah, and then with these playoff round MVPs now, because we just got the inception of the conference finals MVP a few seasons ago. It seems like it's always left field. Like Jaylen Brown wins finals MVP last year. We got Andre Iguodala in 2015. So I'm gonna take it a step back. I'm not even gonna say Pascal Siakam. I'm gonna say a guy like Miles Turner for finals MVP.
Hey, but Miles Turner's been playing really well.
Yes. So a guy maybe 28 rebounds, 6 assists, maybe something like that could get him finals MVP. So hey,
and that could be the reason they win. That could be the reason they win because they count him out.
Yeah, and if he knocks down his shots, because like he spaces the floor for them offensively, so if he knocks down those shots at an efficient rate, they can't. It's free will to the basket for any of those guys that can get to the basket. So yeah, that's why I say like I'll give Miles Turner. I'll go with Miles Turner, and it's something that's, as we've seen in recent years, is left field. Besides your star players on the team that always win the award, as we've seen, especially in the recent times, outside of the usual players like a Jokic, Giannis, LeBron. But so that's what I got, and I think this is pretty much a short episode because it's just we're recapping the Thibodeau situation and then the finals. I'll break up.
I do want to touch up just so fans are aware. The Stanley Cup Finals are going on at the same time.
I was about to say, shout out to, while you saying that, shout out to the Women's College World Series as well. I know you watching the NHL. That's what I was thinking about too. NHL Stanley Cup Finals is on right now as we are recording. The Women's College World Series is on right now as well as we are speaking. One more thing I did want to hit on. Hey, June is a very good month. The UFL Conference Championships, XFL and USFL, are this weekend. Yep. June is still a very good month for sports overall. But go ahead, Raphael. You were NHL first.
I was just going to say the Oilers are currently leading the Panthers 1-0 en route to Connor McDavid's first Stanley Cup. However, I think the Florida Panthers and Brad Marchand, I'm not worried about game one.
I still got Panthers in 6.
I still think the Panthers.
Connor McDavid.
Connor McJesus, he's so good at hockey, and it's scary. But
it's scary.
I still think the way the Panthers are playing as a team, I think they're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah.
Dre, to your point for the Women's College World Series, I mean, oh God, I forgot who she plays for, but that girl that got $1 million.
Oklahoma. I'll just say that. No more Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's out, but the girl that played, was it Texas?
Texas Tech. That's why I'm throwing up these signals because
she got $1 million, $1 million NIL deal.
$1 million arm, yeah. So,
and the Women's College is like a mad woman.
The Women's College World Series is a matchup between two Texas teams. Texas Tech and Texas. 4-time defending champion Oklahoma was just recently eliminated, which I thought was amazing, for the sport overall. I did want to bring up that in collusion with what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, NIL, as we talk about NIL, Raphael, you brought it up at a great time.
Yes, sir.
How do you guys feel? We've already talked about football. We've already talked about basketball. Now we're at a point with NIL, with baseball and softball, to where you see kids, again, getting money from different places. Texas Tech, one of those Oiler schools, now able to bring in a kid that is possibly, they call, as you said, $1 million arm, $1 million woman. She's making $1 million to pitch a softball. She has pitched over 400 pitches. She has pitched every game that has led them up to this series. She is pitching right now. We just saw a dynasty for size from Oklahoma as far as softball. Mm-hmm. Football, that is kind of changing. Basketball, that's kind of changing. Again, now that we're seeing it in other sports, is NIL truly changing the landscape? Are we at a point where we're going to see a new champion, a new best every year?
Yes, it is. And like we all talked about during March Madness, when it comes to NIL for college basketball, those fourth and fifth year guys can reap the benefits of staying and being able to put a little money in their pockets, because some of those guys are not going to be amongst the 60 players getting drafted or amongst the, like 450 players in the league. So, that, they're not going to be amongst that, unfortunately, just keeping it a buck. But it also goes to show that you don't have to be a star football player or even a star basketball player to collect the big check from your well, I ain't gonna say the institution, we're from the boosters of the NIL. Like we're talking about softball. Like, who would think a softball pitcher could make more than a football player when it comes to NIL earnings outside of a quarterback? Because we all know the quarterbacks are going to get the top dollar in the collegiate athletics, but still, they still up there. Like a pitcher in softball is up there. So like, you don't have to necessarily be, in more of the popular sports, I guess you could say. Well, depending on what your school is popularized in.
And I'm happy to see, I'm personally happy to see it go to a softball player, right? Because it's not a sport that's talked about enough.
Yep.
In the mainstream media, and yet it is probably one of the most entertaining forms of baseball to be played. And these women lay it out on the line every time. I think personally, the past, I would say probably about 5 to 7 years, maybe even 10, the women's College World Series has been more entertaining than the men's.
Yeah.
And this year though, UTSA has been, upsetting a few people in the College World Series playoffs. But as far as softball goes, I'm excited to see somebody getting paid what they deserve to be paid, because Anthony, kind of just like what you said, we are going to see dynasties.
Yeah.
Because no softball player, when they graduate and they play in any women's league, is getting paid $1 million.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And
just like in the end,
and they just created a league that is professional for adult women's softball players.
But it's still not going to. They're still not going to earn that kind of money.
Not off the bat. Yeah, not off the bat.
And pretty soon you're going to see it start translating over into women's basketball and women's hoops, where they're going to be starting to get paid a lot more than what they would get paid their yearly salary in the WNBA. Why would you leave?
Yeah.
Why would you leave? Play college. It goes two ways, right? Is it damaging to some institutions or colleges? Yes, I think the NIL could be damaging. But on the other end of it, it just goes to show how strong and passionate college fans and college boosters are for the sport.
Yes.
There's more passion in the sport of college sports.
Yeah.
And the business that's there.
And overall, to the point that you were making, Raphael, what a great investment for Texas Tech. Like, wow, we really gambled on a female softball player. And we're in the Women's College World Series. Like, it gets no better than that right there in itself. Yeah.
And what's the best thing for a business?
Keep churning out that money.
Press.
Keep churning out that money.
Attention.
Press,
that attention.
press brings more money.
Yep.
So when you paid $1 million and you made the headlines there, now you're in the World
Churning out
Series
that
showing that
money.
your investment paid off.
Right.
Yeah.
More
ROI.
money's gonna
Great
roll in.
ROI. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to think about a school like Texas Tech, like as far as football, they're not, let's be honest, even in the state of, we know in the state of Texas, they're not going to be able to compete.
They're
And then
third
on a national
tier.
scale, in a national scale, they're most definitely not going to be able to compete. So that's why the basketball team, they can put together a roster because they made it to the Sweet 16 or Elite
Yeah, they
8.
did.
And then the softball team, as we've seen, where they're at now. So yeah, even like, your school, the big schools, like some of them might not be able to compete as far as it goes to football, but they can use the resources for the other sports and bring championship hardware from the other sports.
So to your point, schools now need to make a business investment into which sports they want to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Texas Tech Red Raiders have not been a solid football program.
Even with Pat Mahomes, they were not.
Yeah.
The Houston Cougars couldn't beat anybody in football, but basketball, perennial Final Four team. Yes.
So
And
you could tell where the money's going. It's gonna go to the basketball team.
And then you got schools like, I'm gonna be biased here. You got Alabama basketball team. Like we talked about, it's funny how I guess you could say NIL is kind of, put chinks in the armor on the football team, but they're still competitive. But it rose up the basketball team to what we see now. The baseballs and softball teams, and even golf, they've always been pretty good in those areas.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so you also got schools like that can reap the benefits of being a multi-sport school and being competitive for all your sports, and that's.
But call me biased for being from, the Florida and Southeast area. The Southeast is just known for pumping out athletes.
Talent.
I mean,
the best in the world.
I've said this for years, and I don't know if this is going to be a hot take, but if you want speed on anything and just natural athleticism, go down to Southeast, go down to Louisiana, go down to Florida, go down to South Carolina, North Carolina, go there, and you're going to find speed because they train in the humidity. You want size? You want some big boys? You want some hogs?
You gotta go up north.
You got to go to Ohio and the Midwest.
Big boys.
Iowa.
Yep. Anywhere in the Midwest and the North, right? And then if you want overall just some talented individuals, go to the West Coast.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not
it
talking
is
about like,
different
just pure talent.
Yeah. Just the most talented human beings in the world for whatever reason come out of the West Coast. Yeah. So it's just the honest truth.
The fastest and some of the most athletic come out of the Southeast.
Right here.
And then the biggest and the strongest are your Minnesotas, your your Midwestern boys, and your North.
And I'll say, if you just want a little bit of all of it, the great state of Texas.
The great state of Texas.
Texas just breeds football players.
Yeah, so this is
all around every sport, right? Like we're talking about every sport, but if you just want a football player that is good at being a football player,
great.
Yeah, just go to the state of Texas and you'll find one at every corner.
Before we get out of here, I did want to touch one last time on a not very well respected, but hopefully will be respected at one point. UFL. We have a possibility. If you haven't paid attention to the UFL in the last couple of years, the final four
there's some exciting stuff happening.
The final four teams are the same teams that have played for the last 3 years for either the conference championship or the championships when they were separate leagues. It is the Birmingham Stallions, which is a hometown team for me. Baby. I will be in attendance for that game. Actually, I was watching the game last week. Very interesting note to add about this game. The Michigan Panthers actually, out of that side of the conference, was the higher seed. But they won't get a home game because Kendrick Lamar is having a concert there. So it gives the home field advantage to a 3-time, possibly looking at a 4-time champion, and the Birmingham Stallions on the other side of it. The DC Defenders. The DC Defenders will be going up against the St. Louis Battlehawks. Battlehawks who have upgraded their quarterback talent tremendously.
Reigning champions, by the way. The Battlehawks are reigning champions.
Moving on from AJ McCarron and grabbing Max Dugan. I watched the game a couple weeks ago between Birmingham and St. Louis, which is what I think will ultimately be the championship game. And I'll tell you, Max Dugan looks really, really great. Could possibly look into getting back to the NFL based on what happens in Sunday's game and the next game after that.
To touch on what you're saying, Dre, I will say this: I've caught a couple UFL games this year, and so last year there was some subpar football. This year has been so much better.
Great football,
and really the broadcast of it and the rules around it, and a lot of the ways that it's like, you're hearing these coaches mic'd up throughout the game. You're hearing the players mic'd up.
Yeah.
The entertainment value that's there, I think it's going to catch on.
Because I hope they're able to expand. Go ahead.
Oh, and so then I was going to get to that too. But they are providing a better product on the field. It is giving NFL athletes that were cut from a roster a second chance. College athletes that maybe got overlooked in the draft, it's giving them a chance to keep playing.
Former first round pick DeAndre Baker.
Yeah.
Georgia.
And you're seeing these guys kind of flourish and maybe get an opportunity to get in the league again. And I'm happy. I'm so happy for that.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I think it's a really good thing. They have talked about expansion, and they mentioned it just about. I read about it 2 weeks ago on cities that are bidding for expansions for the UFL, and that's a good sign that business is going to start turning over, because just before this season they were talking about it going bankrupt.
They could use 4 more weeks, and guess what, fellas? If they start at the same point and end 4 weeks from now, what's 4 weeks from now?
Training camps.
Training camp.
And 4th of July. So it would be a perfect ending and a perfect kaboom for a league that is trying to bloom, to play from the middle of March to the dead heat of summer and trying to compete for a championship. So I love the NFL. The NFL is very near and dear to my heart. Maybe because we have a hometown team and they're really good. Maybe that's why the UFL is very, very near and dear to my heart. But I do want to see expansion, because it is a second set of football that we get to watch.
And the quality of the play is better than
it's
it was
very,
last year.
very
and
good.
Steadily,
very, very good.
It's only gonna increase the more that, if these coaches stay where they're at and there's programs and there's stability in the league, then you're going to see the quality of the play improve.
Skip Holtz,
I'm all
Skip
for it.
Holtz, the coach of the Birmingham Stallions, has been there for 5 years.
Yep.
That's continuity that you don't even really see in the NFL very much.
Nope.
Do I always agree with the fact that the majority of some of the players are a little more unknown? Yes, it's a little hurtful. And they do have a turnover rate in that league that makes it hard to keep up with some players. But it is a very exciting product, and it's a very competitive product.
But the turnover rate, though, I don't see that as a bad thing, because that means they're getting drafted.
They're going to the next level.
They're getting looked at other leagues. You know what I'm saying? Like you have Tua's brother,
Talia.
Yeah, Talia, playing in the European Football League.
Yeah.
Who watches the European Football League?
I haven't heard European Football League since the NFL Europe, and you know how long ago that was?
They just restarted the European Football League.
We're showing our age with that one. The NFL Europe, we showing our age. It don't even matter. I'm only 30, and I remember NFL Europe, so it's just like
Kurt Warner, baby.
So that brings me to my point, and hopefully, probably the closing question of today's episode. Would a big name from college opting to not settle and go to the NFL, and however electing to go to the UFL, would that open a Pandora's box?
It would, but
what's the chances?
The money, the money aspect of it, because even I hate to bring his name up, controversy, but even a quarterback like a Colin Kaepernick is going to require some type of compensation to play in a league like that. It might not be it might not be at the level of Arch Manning, because Arch Manning they gonna have to break the bank for a quarterback like a Arch Manning, or even I don't know who's the next best quarterback in that upcoming draft class, but even like I say, a quarterback like Colin Kaepernick that's been to a Super Bowl and got a Pro Bowl and all that,
He
he would
still needs
still
something more
require
than
like
that.
2 to 3 million. Yeah, he would still require like 2 to 3 million to play in that league. So yeah, I don't know about that.
I will. I know what Anthony's saying, and I get you. However,
Mm-hmm. Open up
I'm
that
going to use this
Pandora's
year's.
box for me.
I'm going to use this year's draft. If Quinn Ewers, who was a 7th round pick, had an opportunity to just develop so he can make a lot more money in the NFL in 3 years, and he had a good agent that led him that way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like if Quinn Ewers was like, hey, yeah, I know you got drafted by the Dolphins. And if they did something like what baseball does, where they draft you and they put you down and they use the UFL kind of like a farm league.
The farm, yeah.
And he develops into that multi-million-dollar player that he could be instead of just throwing him into the fire. And then he's just one of those, he's another Cade McNown. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of tricky because these college players are making more than these UFL players, so that's why it's kind
And
of
I
like.
want to say the truth of the matter is one of these players that we are talking about that probably is about to get cut once training camp is over probably is headed to the UFL. There's a very good chance. So,
and his name may be Shador Sanders.
Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, and I
mean,
mean,
because he's really the odd man out right now just because of his draft position.
yeah, I do agree, wholeheartedly, and that's why I appreciate ESPN for what they're doing to promote the product and promote the brand, because this could very well be on like a Fox they feel like because they're Fox, people are going to watch, and they don't. They wouldn't have invested in it.
Yeah.
And the UFL is on Fox. I do catch it on Fox.
It does, yeah.
Yes,
it is on
and,
Fox.
and I'm not, and I use that as a not to say that Fox isn't doing a great job as well, but ESPN's investment into this league to show it and to promote it on a much bigger scale. Maybe it's because of Dwayne Johnson. Who knows? I don't
It
know.
is 1,000,000% because of TKO, which is Dwayne Johnson and the program and the company he's with, and the partnership that TKO has with the ESPN.
Yeah.
It's 1,000,000% that. However, I think Fox is getting on board.
All I say is, Jeff Bezos, stay away. We don't need to be streaming nothing else. That's all I'm gonna say is Jeff Bezos, stay away. Hey, we don't need. I'm sick of this. I remember back in the day, all we needed was ESPN, CBS, Fox, and NBC. Now we need Amazon. We still need those same basic channels. NFL Network now, and Jesus Christ, Amazon, Netflix, Peacock. So it's just like, can we, like, God, Jesus.
Hey, boys, quick update. Panthers up 2-1.
So
Nice.
Panthers in 6, man. That's and hey, and Birmingham 4-peat,
Four in a row.
a dynasty,
4 in a row.
One dynasty might be dead in Alabama, so they say, but another one is
well and alive. Well and alive,
hey,
baby.
but we'll save that discussion for college football season when we get there, because I did want to kind of touch on that playoff format that they want to propose, but it's too early. Leave it at 12 for at least 2 more seasons, and then we can just gauge it off that. But but I pretty much have nothing.
It's about money.
Yeah,
most definitely.
We'll see.
Killing the game I love because we're getting too greedy.
I want to wait my opinion out on that topic just because of the recent rumblings coming out of the SEC about them departing from the NCAA. So I want to wait, because obviously that those two tie in together. They don't propose 16 without the SEC saying, "Hey, let's do this."
That
as a matter of fact, a report just came out with the Big Ten just said, "Hey, we feel like we should get 4 automatic spots. If y'all are going to guarantee the SEC 4 automatic spots, we want 4 too." So if that means out of 12 teams, 8 are already guaranteed. Look out, boys! We're going 16. So
it's the SEC and Ohio State.
Yeah,
if we're being honest,
if we're being honest on this, it's the SEC and Ohio State.
Yeah.
Oregon and Penn
And
State just
maybe
want a
Oregon.
chance to say they were there.
Yeah, hey, we beat Ohio State in the regular season. That's what we can say. You know what I'm saying? Not Penn State, because we all know what they do in big games, but Oregon, to say the least.
Yeah, but you know what? Hey, Oregon, what happens when the playoffs start? I just said it
Oh
earlier
yeah,
in this
for sure.
episode.
Everybody's
0-0.
Yeah, so we know about Oregon when it comes to the national stage. Look good though. They look good, getting their ass beat. But yeah,
Dylan Gabriel looks solid
yeah,
up until round 2.
Yeah.
Pacers in 7. Sticking it back to the original topic of discussion in this of today's episode. We kind of got ventured off into the other sports going on. Panthers in 6. Texas Tech, and I think they played best 2 out of 3 in College World Series baseball, baseball and softball.
Tech in 2.
Yeah, so I'll just say that. And that's pretty much
Tech
all
in
I
2.
got. I wonder who will be the highest NIL player in college volleyball. Okay, now I'm just going off the rails.
Sign us out, man. Sign us out.
Man. So thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Let Me Say
Admin.
This. Just please like, share, subscribe, push us out into that algorithm.
Lacrosse, actually, lacrosse.
Damn, can I finish my intro?
No, I'm messing with you.
Can I finish my intro? I said my intro, so you got me messing up. Can I finish the outro? Thank y'all for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, as I said before I was interrupted with some nonsense. Oh, no, damn lacrosse, cricket, water polo. Hell,
Badminton.
NIL for the chess team. Some of these sports are club sports, so they're not going to get NIL funded. That's just the gist of it. But thank y'all for tuning in.
You always got cross country, too. You cannot forget about cross country.
I'm going to run you off this podcast. You keep interrupting me. And thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of Let Me Say This. We'll be back with another banger. Maybe we'll recap. Hey, I want to say this. If the series is tied 2-2, I want to come back and basically do
what happens
maybe we might have a change of heart. Maybe I might go Thunder in 7 if the series goes 2-2. But on that note, y'all know who I am. Y'all know who they are. And I want y'all to check out Raphael's podcast, the Outrank podcast.
Yes,
it is on YouTube.
Yes,
it is about, shout out to all the veterans and first responders out there. Myself being a veteran, Raphael's a veteran. And then we got the military brat, Roderick Davis. So he kind of knows what goes on in that lifestyle as well. I didn't want to single him out like that, but it is what it is. But thank y'all for tuning in to Let Me Say This, and we're out.
Yes, sir.